I got a new shirt. I like it. I don't usually wear red, but I like this and it matches my hair kind of. So guys, I have a story for you. I have been living in my building here in Miami for 2 years now at the time of this video, a little bit over 2 years. And my landlord here is the most efficient landlord I've ever had. You know, we've all had landlords who just like don't handle anything, something breaks, they take weeks or months to fix it. He is not that way. He's very on top of things, very efficient, very effective. But it's funny because it comes with a twist. It comes with a side effect. It's a double-edged sword. Is that the saying? In that he also will have like an attitude about it. And there's always this feeling of like, oh, you're inconveniencing me. All you people inconvenience me. And when I interact with him, it's very clear to me that he is a gay man who has a lot of the classic gay complexes of he's a perfectionist, but he also is a perfectionist to overcompensate or to, he has some obsessive sort of compulsive tendencies. And the great thing is on a selfish end, it leads to having a great experience as a tenant in terms of things being maintained, the building being clean, taken care of. But there's this side effect of like, he will have an attitude and he will be very dismissive, very judgmental. For example, like he will talk shit to me about the other tenants, particularly women, which I find very interesting. Because I wonder how much of that is like a misogyny baked into the self-loathing. Obviously, I analyze him a lot. I analyze everybody a lot, but I have noticed that he's particularly dismissive to the female tenants, which again, I think is a classic gay thing that you see, sort of like this bitterness or this resentment towards women. And he very much has the classic sort of symptoms described in the book, The Velvet Rage, for any of you who have read this, like, gay psychology book, basically. But because of all this, I have a soft spot for him and a compassion for him because I understand him and I feel like he is, like, I'm him, but like a 2 out of 10 when I have these little moments of ego or like, oh, like incompetence of people I work with or whatever. But with him, it's like a level 10. He's like, you know, the volume is turned all the way to the max where it oozes from him to the point where a lot of my neighbors do not like him. They don't like interacting with him. They avoid interacting with him. I don't have that problem with him because I get him. Like I understand him and I know how to adapt around him. So when he complains about something that I need help with, for example, once my air conditioning unit broke down, and I think I made a video about this because even then his complexes kind of came out and he was like, you're not a woman, you should be able to help me with this. Like those gay shame things come out of him, but I know not to react because I get where it comes from, right? Anyway, fast forward, it's been 2 years. And out of nowhere, there is a flea infestation in my apartment. As soon as I noticed it, I started trying to handle it on my own, buying sprays, bug sprays and stuff like that. I don't have a dog, I don't have pets, so like it was just very weird that there was this like posse of fleas in my bathroom. I'm like, how is this happening? And it took me a while to identify that they were fleas, by the way. I'm glad they were fleas and not, you know, bed bugs, something that could be a lot worse, right? So, you know, I told him immediately, and he again started getting dismissive. Oh, you're probably just being dramatic. They're not fleas, they're not this. And then I was like, I'm telling you, I'm sure it's another neighbor that is bringing them in. Turns out there was another neighbor who has the same problem. And he ended up going on vacation, the landlord, and I was updating him about what was happening. And he just kept giving me attitude like that I'm just annoying him about this thing that he doesn't want to deal with. And I'm like, this is kind of a big deal. I wake up to bites on my ankles. Like, we need to get this fixed. Like, I get that you're traveling, coordinate with the exterminator. Like, I just want a solution. And again, I noticed this like gay shame thing of his whole focus was like, what do you mean we have fleas? Like, I'm a great landlord. Like, we have a really clean building. Like, what are you talking about? And he just was obsessing over like the shame aspect of there are fleas, as opposed to like the solution of I need you to get this fixed. As a tenant, I need you to get this fixed. So I was, for the first time in 2 years, starting to get frustrated with him, where like I wasn't able to just come from a place of compassion, knowing that he has these complexes, and just now getting annoyed, like this is now affecting my daily life. And he just kept arguing with me about like, oh, it's not really that bad. Like, are you even sure they're fleas? And at this point, it's like we're knee deep, my neighbor and I, like spraying around. So I finally was like, I don't want to argue with you. I'm just telling you this is what's happening. There is filth in the bathroom with these fleas. And he calls me back, my landlord, and he yells at me. And he's like, I could double your rent if I want to. How dare you say that you came home to filth? I take pride in our building. And in the moment, I could tell, oh, like this is all just shame. This is all gay shame. This is all, he made a flea infestation about his ego. And I calmed him down, and I had to like stroke his ego and be like, you're a great landlord. This man is like old enough to be my father. He's got to be in his 50s. And I'm just thinking like, wow, like the shame of it all, you know, the complexes of it all, that this person is so stuck in this headspace at this age that he hasn't like worked through. It's not about the fleas, right? Like it could be anything else. Tomorrow it'll be something else. And I'm sure he's been, just based on what my neighbors have told me, this is him, and he's always been this way. And this will continue for him unless he changes. So he came back from vacation. We're working on, you know, exterminators and stuff like that. But I, being the person I am, I was like, I want to help you. I ordered the book, The Velvet Rage, and I was like, I have to give him this when the time is right, because this guy's like miserable, and I don't know if he knows that there's work to be done for him to get through this and evolve to the next stage in life. So he came to see the issue with the fleas, and I was kind of like trying to dig gently to see if I could even go there. And he was just complaining and complaining about my neighbor, and I was like, you do realize like she is just a variable. There will be another her 5 years from now. If you kick her out tomorrow of the building, there will be another her. There will be another issue like the fleas. There will always be something. Are you aware that like you being as great as you are at your job, a lot of that comes from probably like, and I went there, I was like, some of the, you know, the gay stuff, but I didn't frame it as you. I was like us being gay people, we have certain susceptibilities. Are you aware that like this is making you really unhappy? It triggers you to the point that you argued with me on the phone, because he was apologizing, and I was like, I accepted, but there's something bigger here, you know? I offered him the book. I was like, can I give you a book? Do you read? Can I give you a book to read? And he off the bat was like, absolutely not. Like, I don't have time to read. So he closed the door immediately. And even throughout the conversation, he just kept going back to this obsessive mindset of bitching about my neighbor and how he claims she's the one who brought fleas into the building, even though she doesn't have any pets. And this sort of addictive, negative thinking that was focused on the problem and not the solution. So he left. He kind of got where I was coming from. Like, I could tell he was appreciative. He was like, well, you're one of the nicest tenants I've had. I shouldn't have blown up at you. But there was a fundamental lack of desire to see the bigger picture. And the way that he rejected this book, for me, was the sort of ultimate sign of like, oh, this is somebody who just doesn't want to grow. Like, he doesn't want to work on himself. He maybe doesn't have the capacity to grow and to work on himself. And it's so interesting because I told my neighbor this, and she was like, even if I didn't want to read the book, I would have at least taken it from you. Like, I would have taken it from you, maybe considered reading it, maybe flipped through the pages. And I was like, I would have done the same thing. Even if I didn't want to read it, I would have just still taken it. Still left the door at least ajar. I don't think I've ever met somebody who's this closed off to doing something that could actually benefit him. And that is fascinating to me, how in interacting with him, I've had a lot of moments where I'm like, I hope I never end up like this. Like, I hope I never end up this sort of stuck in these unhealthy patterns and ways of communicating with people. and hating my job, like seemingly hating my life. But in that moment, I realized, oh, this is how I'm different from him. Because I will always be willing to do the work and the self-analysis and the self-reflection. And what my neighbor said was like, he fundamentally lacks emotional intelligence. And there's no desire to even explore what that could be or what that could mean for him. So it made me sad. And it made me sad that it's yet another gay man trapped in this. And it makes me think, I've seen him on apps. I'm like, does he bring this to a younger generation of gay men when he talks to them? Does he project these complexes onto him? Probably. But that's the part that disturbs me the most, that like, that makes it so much easier for a cycle to continue. He doesn't have children, so he wouldn't continue any cycles that way. But I'm like, come on, like, at this point, 2022, like, shouldn't we all be trying to learn from these situations? And but you can't help people who don't want to be helped. And I did my best. And in retrospect, that was very like brave of me, kind of even like audacious of me to give a self-help book to somebody. That's somebody's way of being like, hey, I think you need some help. But you can only do what you can do. Have you guys ever had a situation like this where you connect with a gay person and you're like, I want to make you see the bigger picture, but you also don't want to offend them. You don't want them to explode. And so it is what it is. At least he didn't explode on me. That's the good news.